What's up, and welcome back to the Full House Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Lauren.
I'm Tori.
And I'm Josh.
And we got Raphael back. Let's talk a little bit about your Instagram page and what you do over there, providing content for anyone that's into fantasy football.
Hey guys, thank you for having me back. So Raphael from Fantasy Football UK, the Instagram Fantasy Football UK. So providing content worldwide on every time zone, obviously, and trying to cater to all the expats, all the American football lovers that live in the UK and Europe. Just trying to grow the community over there. There's a lot of people that stop playing fantasy when they move to Europe, so that shouldn't be happening. So keep just providing content for them and catering to them, really.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, we're happy you're back, man. We had a great time, the first go round, and figured we would have an encore. So we're definitely looking forward to that. Obviously, last week was the meat. This week is the potatoes. Wide receiver rankings. Top.
Josh would
15.
disagree. Josh would say the wide receivers are meat. And
I would. That is true. I love me some wideouts.
Love you some meat, don't you?
I love me some meat.
All right, let's do it.
All right, guys.
I have to admit, wide receiver is my favorite fantasy position. So I'm extremely excited.
Mine too.
It's my favorite fantasy position.
Mine too.
I agree, because the biggest difference, obviously, with running backs is that you have at most, I mean, in some situations more, but at most 2 feasible running backs per team. And that's for maybe a third of the NFL. And then you really have one guy who dominates that backfield. But every single NFL team has at least 2 starting wide receivers, and oftentimes are rocking with 3 wide receiver sets.
Correct.
So just a much deeper position, and there's so much more upside later in drafts, I feel like, which makes the wide receiver position. And I agree. I think it's the most fun.
And running backs, wide receivers don't break your heart as much as running backs. They're so volatile. They're always secured, and it's just hard.
Yeah.
The thing I like to like think about, or the thing that always like fascinates me with that, is a lot of times, like, if you end up winning with like a late round skill position, most of the time it is a receiver that you think about, like, oh, I won my league because I drafted this receiver in the 7th round, not I drafted this running back in the 7th round. Most of the time I feel like when you win your league, it's because of the late round flyer that you took on a receiver that ended up paying off.
I would agree in the draft. And I think
that's what I'm talking about in the draft.
The waiver wire running back can also win.
Oh, yes.
As well.
I'm talking about in the draft.
Yeah.
In the draft.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't think this year is any different. I would honestly argue that this year is as deep as I've ever seen. 8th, 9th, 10th round. I'm looking at guys who I literally, and I'm not going to be, but I literally would be like, you know what? I wouldn't mind if that guy was my wide receiver 1 in the 9th round. Like, are you kidding me?
When you do mocks, you find yourself like, why? I mean, I love these receivers, but also, like, I almost don't want one because I want the other ones later on. And I'm like, I might as well just take a running back here, I guess. Cause I'll just stack wide receivers in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th round.
Yeah. And
feel damn good about it.
Yeah. I love that strategy as well. So without further ado, just like last time, we're going to do a consensus top 15. Surprisingly so, we had pretty close to a consensus in the top 15. Only 3 wide receivers who one of the 4 had that the others didn't. A few guys that 3 of us had, 1 didn't, and vice, so on and so forth. But only 3 guys that only 1 of us had.
Which is crazy because, like you said, there's such a deeper pool with wide receivers that you would think there'd be more, but it seemed like last week, where the running backs should be a little more bunched together, there was a lot more disparity with the running backs.
Right. Right. So this week there's 3 wide receivers, as I mentioned. I don't have any. Lauren doesn't have any. Our boy Raphael, the contrarian, has 2, and Josh has 1. So without further ado, Raphael, kick us off here, man. We're going to go ahead and kick it off with your number 14th ranked wide receiver who did not make our top 15 consensus, and that is Hollywood Brown, baby. Marquise in Arizona.
He loves speed. We found that out this week.
Yeah.
He does kill for sure.
He was almost a jailbird with the rugs there.
Yeah. So again, none of us have him ranked, and you have him all the way up at 14. Go ahead and give us some insight on why you feel so high on Marquise Brown this year.
Yeah, that surprises me actually that none of you have it. Listen, I think he was a top 20 wide receiver last year with Lamar and Huntley in a run-heavy offense, and he gets to go back and play with his college quarterback that he has a great chemistry with. I mean, I went back and looked at the tape from college. They looked great together. When Kyler starts scrambling, he finds Hollywood Brown. Like that was his like go-to in college. If they find a way to connect that way, and knowing that DeAndre is going to be out, you got Zach Ertz, but Zach Ertz is in his 30s. He's going to be a strong tight end, but he's still in his 30s. Rondell Moore, why not? But like Marquise Brown is going to be the leading guy in this team for 6 games, and I actually anticipate him to be like 1A, 1B with D-Hop when he comes back. But I don't think Marquise Brown targets go down that much. I think Kyler might actually have a really strong year. I don't know what you guys were saying about him in the QB podcast, but I think Kyler Murray is going to have a strong year. So for me, there's like no reason for Marquise Brown to not be in this top 15. He's number 1 guy in a strong offense with his college QB, great chemistry. Everything points towards a really good season for him.
Hard to make a case against it, man. I'll tell you that right now, because I agree with all of those points to a certain degree. I will say that's what's so awesome about fantasy is I actually see Arizona and Kyler in the exact opposite way. I think Arizona is a dumpster fire. I think their coach is horrible. I think Kyler is overpaid. I mean, granted, in comparison to where he, who else got paid, they should have paid him. And I agree with the signing. I just don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy that can win late in seasons when it really is gritty football season, which happens to be fantasy football playoff season. So I think he's the 0 to 0 guy. And I am so fading Arizona in all ways, whether it be their over under, whether it be, betting against them all year, whatever it is. That's what puts me out on Marquise is just Arizona not really being as high octane and dominant of an offense as we've been used to seeing them as.
Yeah. He finished at wide receiver 23 last year. So he was barely a wide receiver too. I just couldn't put him in the top 15 with just a quarterback change between Lamar and Kyler. I didn't think was that drastic enough to bump him. I mean, he had 145 targets let me see. Yeah, he had 145 targets last year. So, I mean, that's a ton of targets. He had a ton of targets. He had a ton of volume, but he still finished as wide receiver 23. So I don't see the jump being that drastic.
Yeah, agree. I agree with
a man of many words.
I agree with all of you. I can see why Raphael's excited, and I thought he looked great last year. He did have some like big drops in the end zone, things like that costed him as far as finishing 23. I remember having him and just watching him be like, God damn it, like you had another one you dropped.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's one game in particular where he like dropped 2. I remember like that cringing feeling.
Just right off to the grips too.
Mm-hmm. And I also agree that I don't like Arizona in the direction they're going, and Kyler's a crybaby, and so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely valid though. There was for me about 15-20 guys that all could have made this list.
Yep.
So it makes it really tough
for sure.
Down to 15.
For sure.
On to Josh's contrarian pick, which is Michael Thomas, MT13. Yeah. He has him at 15. None of us have him ranked. I see where you're coming from. But go ahead and explain. I mean, do you just feel like he's going to come back to form?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's why I have him where I have him. I have him at, let's see, let me pull up my list. I have him at 15. So, I mean, I have him just inside the top 15. I don't think he's going to be wide receiver 3, or anything like that, which is where he was wide receiver 1 just 2 years ago.
Right.
So, and then he got injured and the whole thing. But I mean, I think if he's back, he's as healthy as he's been in the last 2 years. And while he has a different quarterback, if he's already shown that he has wide receiver 1 potential.
Yeah.
So why can't he at least be wide receiver 15?
That was 3
that's just kind of where my mindset is.
That was 3 years ago, not 2. It was 2019.
Yeah, I was going to say
that he had that monster year. It was 2019.
Well, it was 2 seasons ago, or it's been 2 years, two seasons,
2 full seasons. He didn't play at all.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's been 2 seasons since he's been, a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, no, it was 2019, same year Christian McCaffrey had that big breakout.
What did I say? What did I say something wrong?
No,
you said 2 seasons ago,
which would have made
he was wide receiver 2, which is
well, I meant it's been 2 seasons since he's been a wide receiver 1. Which is, I mean, if you're going to have wide receiver 1 talent and potential and the ability that you've already shown, why can't you be a wide receiver 15?
I think that was a unique offense with Drew Brees, though, where he was running nothing but fucking 5-yard button hooks, and Drew Brees was just couldn't throw the ball down the field and was just forcing the ball to him. And it was a perfect scenario for him. I don't think anything like this is ever going to happen in his career again.
Yeah.
That was his absolute peak ceiling. And I get like that's why you have him at 15. You don't say you're saying he's not going to be that again.
Yeah.
But I just don't know what we're getting from him at all.
Yeah, but his talent alone should justify him at least being up there. Like, he's not going to finish as a wide receiver 30.
If I were to rank him based on talent, he'd be right up there as well. I'm not just going to automatically assume that ankle's just like, oh, he's good. Like, the dude's out there in training camp for the first time in 2 years. I got to see it. I think he could end up being one of the best values in all of fantasy drafts because of it, because of guys like me who are not going to take that risk on a guy like Michael Thomas where he's being drafted, but absolutely could outplay his ADP significantly. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel you there. And then one last one before we get into the top 15, and that is a guy who is 16th for me, I'll admit. But I do have him not ranked in the top 15, and neither do Josh or Lauren, and that is Judge Judy, my boy, Jerry Judy in Denver. And Raphael has him at 15, and he falls out of the top 15 for the three of us. Talk to us, man.
Yeah. Do you want me to comment? Well, listen, I think, I mean, the same discourse is going to go for Cortland Sutton, but anyways, Russell Wilson has created top 15 wide receivers every year since 2015, except for 2017, I think. And can you say the where that guy finished that year? 16th.
Yeah.
16th.
Yeah, which was Lockett, right?
And in 2020, DK and Lockett both made it to the top 15, and I don't think the 2020 Seahawks were better than 2020.
No, in 2020,
Broncos.
DK and Lockett actually both finished as top 10 options.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's shown for sure he can support two of them, no doubt.
So with Patrick going down, Russ has never been like a big tight end guy. Like he's never provided like a top 5 finish for a tight end.
Right.
So I think he's going to pepper these guys, both Judy and Sutton. The reports are saying that Sutton's, connecting better and there's better chemistry in camp. But Russ loves down the middle. I mean, Russ loves down the middle between the numbers. And that's going to be Jerry Judy territory. So in the big games, I think Jerry Judy could be seeing like 8 to 10 targets, like in games where they have to fight 4 points, keep up. I don't know. I can see him have a really, really good season. Maybe not the TD upside, but it's like I can see him getting a lot of catches.
Well, especially with Tim Patrick being injured too. I mean, that's just going to open up the pie that much more.
That is huge. And that was 100%. What really made me hesitant to not propel both of those guys into the top 15 myself. Jerry Judy was like 97th percentile in separation last year.
Yeah.
The dude separates. He's a brilliant route runner. And if you're going to pair him with anybody, Russ is going to be able to exploit that better than almost any other quarterback in the NFL. So can't argue one bit.
It's tough because we all have Sutton on this list coming up in a few, and we all could just interchange Judy just as easily. Yeah, I mean, you can make the same arguments for both guys.
Absolutely.
I mean, like where you have Sutton, you could just literally, like you said, just swap it for Judy
to be there 100%.
Yeah.
You just don't, it just depends on who he's going to connect with more. But I think it's like Raphael said, he can support both of them and they can both be wide receiver ones.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. So we got the outliers out of the way. Let's move right on to number 15, the guy that just cracked the top 15 list for us. And that is Mike Williams of the Los Angeles Chargers. I have him the highest, ranked all the way up at 9. Lauren has him at 13. Josh does not have Mike Williams in his top 15. And we have Raphael, who has him cracked into the top 10 at number 10.
No one excites me more at his ADP than Mike Williams. When I see him there, I just feel like I'm getting a steal, like first round, second round value.
Yeah.
And because of the ceiling we saw early last year, where through like 5 or 6 weeks, he was wide receiver 1 by a landslide.
Yeah.
And he's obviously in one of the most potent and best offenses in the NFL, playing for one of the most young, talented quarterbacks. He's established. He's still got youth on his side at 27. If he could just stay healthy.
Oh yeah, he's going into.
Well, that's always been the problem.
Oh my, yeah. That's just. I mean, and we got to take injury out of it to an extent when you're doing rankings. You can't. Although he has a history, you just can't assume he's going to get hurt.
Yeah, it's not like he tore the ACL in the same knee twice or anything like that, right?
Exactly.
Like,
so
he's gotten banged up. I mean, here's the thing. I agree with all of those things. That's why I have him as high as I do. I do have him ahead of Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen is just trending in the opposite direction, although he will inevitably see more volume. The volume value is going to be much less in downfield targets as well as red zone targets. And while Keenan Allen did outpace him in the red zone last year, I definitely see that flip-flopping this year. One last thing is Mike Williams is probably the lead candidate for positive touchdown regression this year. He was 15th in targets in the 20 within the 20-yard line last year, but finished 32nd in touchdowns in that same range. Herbert,
I mean, he had almost 10 touchdowns, and you're expecting that much more
in the red zone is what I'm saying. Yeah. So he's absolutely a candidate to outpace. I mean, when you have, 30 targets within the 20-yard line and you have 4 touchdowns and everybody else in that same range had 7. Yeah, I absolutely believe it. And Herbert is going to throw for 50. I mean, he's absolutely a candidate to throw 50 touchdowns.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't think there's much more to be said on our end.
I believe I have him one spot above Keenan Allen, so I agree with you on that. I like him a little bit more than Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
just the red zone status is pretty crazy, actually.
The upside with Allen is capped 100%.
Yes.
You know that he's never going to be a top 3 wide receiver.
One of the safest plays on the
play. I was going to say he's locked in as probably a top 15 guy, but he's never going to crack the top 5 again.
Ever.
It's never going to happen.
No.
Whereas Mike Williams could be wide receiver 1 this year.
100%.
If all goes right,
100%.
he could be wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Why do you disagree, Josh? I'm really curious.
I really like Mike Williams, and he's actually 16 for me. So he's just outside top 15. But I just feel like I don't know. I don't see it with him. I mean, maybe it's because it was just 1 year, and I feel like it might be a little more of an outlier than the norm for him. I just can't do it. I can't put him up there. And I think you're talking about positive regression. I mean, he had almost 10 touchdowns last year, and Keenan Allen only had 6. I think Keenan Allen ends up with a little bit more, and I think Mike Williams, if anything, stays about the same. I think he stays right in that.
Keenan Allen's been in the league since 2013, never scored more than 8 touchdowns in his whole career.
No, I get that. No,
and he's been a top 5 guy, so he's not he's not going to shock the world and automatically score 14 touchdowns.
I'm not saying that. But I think if Keenan Allen gets up to like 7, 8, 9 touchdowns, and Mike Williams stays about the same, if we're going to expect this offense to be even better, I just can't see Mike Williams being like top 10 again.
Well, if you think Herbert's going to throw at least 40, they got to go somewhere. And
Eckler, who else? Because Joshua Palmer's unproven. They don't really have a stud tight end. Like, they got to go somewhere.
I am hearing reports of Palmer being an absolute stud, though.
Yeah,
he's looking really good. And I heard the tight end is looking really good, too.
Yeah. I think Raphael had some thoughts on Mike Williams.
Yeah, go ahead.
We keep stepping on him.
No, I looked at the tape from last year a little bit with Williams, and they changed the way they use him. They used to use him as like a vertical threat and go for the long balls, but they're starting to use him close to their line of scrimmage and letting him make the play.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes the plays. And the stat that you were talking about, Tori, where, red zone, he had 22 red zone targets, 7 catches. That's 30% completion rate. That's terrible.
Yeah,
There's no way that stays at that level.
Right.
There's no way.
Especially when you consider the talent of his quarterback and those ball, it's not like it's errant passes or something like that.
Yeah, it's not Drew Lock, right?
And later during the season, that famous Raiders game where they played for the playoffs, every big third down, we think Allen got those, Williams got those. If you look at the really clutch plays, Williams made them in that game.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a switch. I think I still have Allen slightly higher, but I think Williams could very much end up being the wide receiver 1 for this team and maybe top 5 overall for sure.
Yeah. Upside is definitely there. On to our number 14. And this is a guy who has been an absolute mainstay in the top 5 for the past 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years. And that is the cheetah himself, Tyreek Hill. I have him 14th. Lauren 9, Josh 8, and unranked for our boy Raphael.
No
why don't we
faith
go
in
ahead and
Tua.
kick off with Josh, who has him ranked the highest at 8 for your boy Tyreek Hill.
I mean, just like what you said, he's been a mainstay in the top 5. And I mean, just like with Devontae Adams, he went from, Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. There's going to be a little bit of a drop. He's going to go from Pat Mahomes to Tua. There's going to be a drop. And while the drop may be a little more drastic than I have it ranked, I still think he's a premier talent, and he's not going to be getting 70-yard bombs. But if he gets a 6-yard slant and takes it 80 yards, well, the points and the yards count the same, which he has the ability to do any given play. Anytime he touches the ball, he's just that powerful of a weapon. So I couldn't put him outside of the top 10 when he's proven every year that he's a top 5 talent.
Yeah. And they traded a first, second, third. They traded the house.
Oh, yeah.
They brought him in. They're going to use him. Mike McDaniels knows how to scheme. And
they will scheme him up.
He knows how to scheme and get the playmaker. We saw what he did with Debo, get the ball to their playmakers, and they're going to give him every opportunity to make plays. And that's what he does. I mean, that's so much of
playmaker.
The success of the Chiefs offense was Tyreek making big plays, dude, left and right. Like he was making 1 or 2 a game for Mahomes and bailing him out. A slant route, 80 yards to the house, making
wide receiver screens and end arounds and everything. Like it's not even always 80-yard bomb down the field for touchdowns. It's a lot of short yardage behind the line of scrimmage, right at the line of scrimmage kind of plays that he makes, that he breaks and takes. So I just couldn't do it. Couldn't drop him.
No.
Yeah. Raphael, what are your thoughts, man? You have him outside of your top 15. I'm sure you see it a bit closer to the way I do. Go ahead and give us your 2 cents, man. How do you see the Tyreek situation?
I think Tyreek will have a fun year. I think he's going to be a top 25, no doubt. I have him at 16 or 17th. I think Waddle's still going to have a very strong year. I think Tua and Waddle still have the connection. Waddle had over 100 catches. I mean, he's there. Hill's going to be there to make the big plays, but is there going to be enough? Is that offense going to score as much, enough points to sustain both of them to have really strong finishes? I don't think so. And also, I think they're going to be running the ball more than we think.
Yes.
And so, we're talking about Tua and the bombs that Tua is throwing the Hill and stuff, but I think they're going to run the ball a lot. And that's why they brought all these guys in, these 3 big, running backs that they brought in. So I don't know. There's not enough volume for me. Yes, he'll make the splash plays. He'll be exciting. He'll have the crazy 80-yard touchdown
where he throws up the deuces.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, but there's just not enough of that for me. He'll do it. He'll have a few crazy games. We'll see it, but not enough for me to.
I think they're going to. I think Mike McDaniel's going to find a way to manufacture 10 touches a game for Tyreek, no matter what. However, he has to do. If he has to line him up in the backfield and hand it to him, he's not going to let that weapon go unused. And so I feel like they're going, whether they're handoff screens, play action deep shots, they're going to find a way to get Tyreek involved to make that threat known to the defense every single week.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a first-time head coach and your first big splash is I'm going to trade all of my future to bring in Tyreek Hill. You're not going to do that and then be like, all right, let's play smash mouth football and run it every, it's like you're going to give him the ball as many times as you possibly can. Now that you have
no first round pick next year too.
Yeah. But the narrative around paying a guy $30 million a year and then just assuming you're going to hand the ball off to him 4 times is not practical. The general manager also has a play in that. And I can promise you they're not going to put 195-pound Tyreek Hill running up the gut or doing these. I mean, no. They're going to be methodical. I agree with you. I think Mike McDaniel is a great scheme guy. I just see it similar. I think he has more target competition in a lower volume situation. I mean, granted, is Waddle going to see more targets than Kelsey? Probably not. But behind that, it was pretty much Waddle is Kelsey. They cancel each other out. They're going to throw the ball at least 100 times less than the Kansas City Chiefs have been, at least. And interesting stat, because it's totally contrarian to the eye test, because Tyreek is in my opinion, the most exciting player in the NFL. I really think he is. But he wasn't even top 3 on his own team in yards after the catch last year. McCole Hardman had more. Kelsey had more. Damian Williams had more. He wasn't even top 25 in the league in yards after the catch last year.
And what did he finish at?
What?
As a wide receiver?
I think he finished 6th. Yeah, but again, I mean, the best one, probably the best offensive, 6th in fantasy.
Oh, Tyreek. Yeah. He finished 6th.
So again, you know, you could split hairs all day long.
You guys
I
are
just
so
see it on
convinced they're going to
little
be
bit of
this
the other
running
side.
offense, but
No,
who are
I'm
they going to
not.
be running with?
I don't think they're going to be a running
No,
offense.
Mostert's going to be hurting.
I think they're going to be balanced.
2 plays,
and
then
KC wasn't. KC threw the ball towards the top 5 of the league every single year, and I just
they're
don't
going to
think
be
Miami is
losing
gonna
most
do that.
games. They're not going to be able to.
They're gonna have to play catch up ball.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to run the ball, so they can try all they want, but they're going to have to give up on that pretty early.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I am not bought in on Tua myself, but I am definitely rooting for him. I'll play that.
Me
On
neither,
to
for
number
the record.
13, AJ Brown, the last guy that not all 4 of us have ranked. Surprisingly, I'll admit. And I'm sure we're all surprised, but that is AJ Brown, my boy out in Philly. I have him 13th. Lauren has him all the way up at 7, which I am very surprised you have him higher than Josh. I admit.
Dude, I've been the biggest fucking AJ Brown stan ever.
And then
Josh
we have
knows
Josh
it.
at 9, and we have Raphael, who has him unranked. Again, let's kick it off. Lauren, why don't you do us a favor and tell us why you have AJ the Bizzle Brown all the way at 7, man?
Because he's an elite special talent. I think he's one of the best 3 wide receivers in the NFL, has been since he came in. He's the hardest wide receiver to tackle, and that's saying a lot because I'm saying that over Debo, who's unbelievably hard to tackle.
Sure.
But AJ Brown is an absolute tank, and he's a quarterback's best friend because he makes you look good. Once again, kind of like Tyreek. I mean, bro, like he's gonna carry defenders down the field time and time again. If he stays healthy, he's locked in top 5. He
is the antithesis of Keenan Allen.
Yeah, 100%.
No disrespect to Keenan, one of the best slot guys on the planet.
Yeah,
but like, you can throw the ball to Keenan Allen 160 times and he's going to get you 1,092 yards, 6 touchdowns. You can throw the ball to AJ Brown 90 times and he gets you the same stat line.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the dude is a freak of nature for sure.
Yeah.
And you all know how I feel about Jalen Hurts. And that's by far
as impressive as Tyreek's highlight reel is. AJ's might be right there with him. Some of the plays he's made were
different ways, but
4 guys. He's making 4 guys miss, running over dudes. Like he's just an absolute monster of a player. And and I like the offense he's going to be in. And I think he gets a connection with Hurts early on. And I think it's a big year. So
love it. Absolutely love it.
Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Josh, you have him all the way at 9.
Yeah, I got him at 9. I'm a big AJ Brown fan. I've been saying it for a while this year when he got traded. I mean, I was taking him in the 2nd round in mock drafts because I just think that's where his talent is. And you guys have all kind of been like, oh, I don't know, it's a little early, but I think he's going to come out and he's going to shock the world. Like Lauren said, I mean, he's been up there in the top, you know, I think last year, or no, not last year because he was banged up, but the year before. Okay, he was finished as top 12. That's wide receiver 1, you know, 2 years ago with Tannehill throwing him the ball. I mean, Hurts is probably a little bit better than Tannehill, but even if they're the same, I just think that he's a premier talent. I think he has that ability to be an easy wide receiver 1.
He finally has a viable wide receiver 2 on the other side of him.
Absolutely. He's not going to be getting double covered. And because who else was in Tennessee with him? I just think he's a premier talent. I just think, I mean, you have the Eagles going to the Super Bowl, Tori. Like that's like you're like they're going to win the conference. They're going to win their division.
Eagles they're my hot take for sure. And
he's got the Eagles as big time winners, and
I would put a ton of money on them winning their division, no question. But
I'll tell you this though, if
they're a big time player for a deep playoff run for sure.
Yeah, and if they're gonna
real quick,
it will just let me say if they're gonna get to that point, if they're gonna be as good as you think they could be, it's not gonna be on the back of Miles Sanders. True. You know, it's gonna be with plays from Devonta Smith and AJ Brown.
Yeah, I don't disagree one bit. My counter argument is one thing and one thing only. I just see the target competition in a bit of a different way. It all depends on the lens you look through, right? Because you could say, well, he has somebody quality on the other side. That could be a benefit. I see it in this situation as being a very balanced team. I don't think they're going to be run heavy like they wanted to be last year. I think they're going to lean a bit more on Hurts. I just think Devonta is a pretty legit number 2 and is going to command some target share. And I think Goddard's a really quality tight end that's also going to command some target share, unlike AJ Brown's ever seen. But he doesn't need targets. He doesn't need huge volume. He was 3rd in yards per route run last year. All the efficiency metrics are off the charts. So
he kind of breaks the mold. He doesn't need a lot of volume.
I think
he's that good.
I think he's at like 10 to 14 range. I'm not sure because I can't propel him higher solely due to the fact that I think he's only going to see about 110, 120 targets.
So quick question. If you're going to have Devontae Adams,
just said he could have over 1,010 touchdowns.
If you're going to have Devontae Adams way up there in the top probably 8, somewhere in that range. Everyone's going to have him up there. How different of a situation is he in than Devontae Adams? Why is Devontae Adams that much better than AJ Brown? They're going to have the same as far as like competition of target share around them. And do you think Derek Carr is that much better, like light years ahead of Jalen Hurts?
Oh, I think he's going to throw for 5,000 yards, and I think Hurts is going to throw for 4,000 yards.
And that's going to make the difference between, Devontae being at 5 and you barely having AJ Brown in your top 15. Like, I just don't see that much of a disparity between the two.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he got you there.
I get your point. I just think that Devontae is a far more of a target hog than AJ Brown ever will be. That's all. And your boy threw for 4,800 yards last year and now has a viable number 1. I'm pretty in on the Raiders, and Hunter Renfrow is going to go back to being the slot guy that he always has been.
And you still have Darren Waller, and you have all the weapons.
Darren Waller, and then you have
just like you have with AJ Brown.
Devontae is going to get his. And he's not going to see the touchdown upside that he always has with Aaron Rodgers. That's the difference. I get your point, though. I like it.
Yeah. Raphael, you don't even have him ranked. Well, look real quick. Raphael doesn't even have him ranked.
Sorry, man. Didn't mean to graze over you.
The disrespect.
I think I'm a bit like Tori on this matter, where I need to see it to believe it. Like once I've seen AJ Brown and Hurts connect in games and him do like what he did in Tennessee, then I'll believe it. And you guys kind of convinced me. I wouldn't mind having him in my top 15 now. And I'll be very happy when he falls to me in the 4th round, like I'm sure you guys will be. But I just need to see it. And I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan, so like, it'll be easy for me to be convinced. But I just need to see him adapt to this new scheme. And Tannehill wasn't a running quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a running quarterback. That plays into it as well.
I think a mistake I've made in the past that I've learned from when it comes to fantasy is forgetting, like, kind of depending too much on circumstance and thinking too much about that and overthinking it. And just
overthinking talent.
Yeah, dude. Like sometimes there's just supreme talent that in any situation is going to be a good fantasy asset.
True. We do try to get so analytical about shit instead of just going, this dude's a baller. I don't give a fuck who's throwing him the ball.
He's a baller, and he was a wide receiver 1 with Tannehill throwing him the ball. Yeah. Like, I mean, if he can do it with Tannehill, he could do it with anyone.
And guess what? Like the coach and the quarterback are both going to want to force the ball to him because they see every time they do, good shit happens. And so,
no doubt. I love AJ Brown. I love Jalen Hurts. I probably do have him a bit too low. There's just a few guys I'd rather have over him, and we'll get to that. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's exactly my point as well, Tori. He was probably my top 15 3 weeks ago, and he's slowly just been like, going down the charts as other guys have, kind of like, I want this. I'd rather have that guy rather than.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right. On to our number 12, which is the territory of wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
We have a gentleman who is actually not considered wide receiver 1 in any of your 3 rankings, but he is in mine, which pushes him above in the consensus. And that is Courtland Sutton in the Mile High City, baby. I have him all the way up at 7. Call me biased, whatever you want.
Probably.
Lauren at 15, Josh at 13, and Raphael at 13. Keeping on the trend, I'll go ahead and kick it off. And again, we're kind of like a broken record. Russ can support a wide receiver 1. He is connecting. I've watched all the tape in.
Please don't say he's cooking. I'm so tired of that shit.
In training,
no, they're riding. He's dialed in.
Who has that dog in him though?
That was one fan tweeted one.
I cried when I saw that.
But there's not a radio host or fucking podcaster that doesn't sit there and go, "Is Russ going to cook this year?" I'm just like cringe. I'm just.
I don't want to be cheesy about it, but honestly, he's legit. I think he's since 2015, he's 3rd in overall touchdowns thrown. He's pairing up with probably the most favorable fantasy situation of his career, going from a very boring, slow-paced Pete Carroll ran offense. And Sutton is a fucking contested catch monster. He can catch the ball downfield. He's a vertical threat. He's a red zone guy. I think he's going to see enough target volume, especially now with Tim Patrick. I think Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton were a lot more similar than Tim Patrick and Judy.
Yeah.
And that's in his.
Tim Patrick could have been a cock block for Sutton.
Courtland Sutton went from about 12 to 7 when the news with Patrick hit. I think Sutton is just going to fucking dominate. I really do. And, Russ is basically a lock for 35 plus touchdowns. Sutton's going to be the beneficiary of a good percentage of those. And that's why I have him as high as I do.
Yeah. Still
it's hard to argue.
Still too high.
It's hard to argue. I think Sutton is going to be a beast. I think Russ has shown the ability, as you said, all your points perfectly, but I just think you got him a little too high. I mean, if you guys are expecting Judy to be as good as he is as well, like I just don't see how he's going to be, at 7 and then Judy's going to be at 13. Like, especially with
or Lockett was at 9 and DK was at 7 in 2020. So, I mean,
yeah, after Russ has mastered the offense and have been with these guys for years, and like this is you got to also factor in this is a brand new team for him, brand new scheme, brand new players. There's a lot that goes into it other than just he's done it in the past, he's going to do it again. I think if 2 years from now, I'd probably, after we've seen a little bit and they've both gotten comfortable with each other, I could see Sutton up there 7, 6, 5, whatever. But I just think year one, with the amount of weapons that he has, hurting, Tim Patrick going down kind of makes it look better for Sutton and Judy, but I just think that it's just a smidge too high for me. I mean, I got him at 13.
If you're wondering if you have Sutton too high, just picture that meme with Snoop Dogg where his eyes are like super red. It's too high.
Yeah.
But this is another take of mine. I mean, I don't want to do any spoiler alerts, but you guys have multiple players on other teams ahead of one player on the Broncos. Like, you really think Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are going to outscore one of the two, Judy and Sutton, both of those guys?
I don't think I have a single duo of players. I don't think I have a single duo of players in the top 15. I don't. If you look at my list, I don't.
You had him just outside.
I do have him just outside.
You had him just outside.
14 and 15.
No, but you had, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We haven't gotten to it. Either way, close.
Yeah.
Close. You have them all in the same range. Yeah. My bad.
I definitely have. I was going to say I have a duo much higher.
Yeah,
as they should be
for sure.
So, but Raphael, where did you have him? You had him at 14.
Raphael has him.
I had him at 13, and I had Judy over Sutton for a long time, and the Tim Patrick, because I did think that Tim Patrick was going to steal touchdowns from Sutton.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the big difference between Patrick and the rest of the guys. I just didn't get that. The ADPs were just so different.
Right.
But now that Patrick's gone, I think Sutton does get the bonus of those TDs. If the chemistry is there, you want the wide receiver one to Russ Wilson. You just want him on your team. I'm a huge Russell Wilson guy, and you just want that guy on your team no matter what. So the IDP that Sutton's at right now, I think he's an absolute steal.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely not drafting him anywhere near how I have him ranked. You're definitely drafting him probably 3 times lower, right in that like 15 to 18, maybe 20 range, depending on, however you see it.
What a bummer for Tim Patrick, man. The NFL, like there's a lot of luck involved in where you go, because like he ends up in like maybe the worst situation for his career. Because like, if you imagine if he goes to a team that like Dallas right now, he would have been locked in as wide receiver too.
Oh my gosh,
Dallas
right now,
right? And he finally had the opportunity to play with a badass quarterback. Right. He's been dealing with a bunch of, and then this happens, and it's just like, man, this could be. This was his chance to kind of lock himself in as an elite, maybe get traded for by a top contender and make a big deal with his contract and all that. He's probably just going to fade away at this point.
Yeah. Sadly. Total heartbreak, because it went from having a pretty mean trio, Tim Patrick almost leading the list. You can make a case for Boyd and a few other people of being probably the best third option.
So let's go real quick though. Do you guys think this makes KJ Hamler look interesting in like the later rounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, especially that there's a connection as well. Russ loves KJ Hamler apparently. So
really? Yeah, and KJ was a high 2nd round pick. I mean, he still has the pedigree. Yeah. I mean, the dude's a total burner and honestly provides the exact skill set that Judy and Sutton don't. Mm-hmm. While Sutton is a bit of a deep threat,
Russ has
not
got the best deep ball in football. That's one thing. As much as I can't stand the guy, he has the prettiest deep ball in football.
Yeah, the dude can fucking throw.
That thing's a raindrop. It just drops in over your shoulder in stride.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how those smaller guys do it, man. Like Kyler has
just that flick of the wrist, man. Well. Yeah.
Pretty incredible. All right, guys. So on to number 11. We have Keenan Allen, and I have him ranked 15th, Lauren 14, Josh 11, and our boy Raphael all the way up at 8. Go ahead and kick us off, Raphael, which we kind of already touched.
I probably have him,
but
yeah, I probably have him a tiny bit too high. The only thing I'd say is that sometimes you just love a bit of consistency in fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
And Keenan Allen just provides you this consistency. Every time I've had him on any team, I think I've made the playoffs. I've been able, if you surround him with guys that are a bit, high upside guys, Keenan Allen is just like the anchor to your team. Like every week, he'll just get you. I mean, I think he got the most consistent rate in fantasy football last year. Wasn't he like the most consistent guy?
I'm sure.
Like he is every year.
Ironically, the guy across from him is exactly the kind of guy you want to pair him with. And it brings up the question, like, would you draft them both if you had the opportunity? In most situations, you would say, no, I don't want two wide receivers in the same offense. I would take them both.
Yeah, I would.
If I had the chance, fuck yeah, they're different enough and that offense is high potent enough.
Yeah.
I would absolutely draft them both. Just like I would draft Higgins. You're never going to get to draft Chase and Higgins in most situations.
Oftentimes don't, just because of this, method that I think doesn't work.
Right.
But I see teams that do it and I'm like, yeah, and then they kick ass all year long. Because if you can get a few pieces from that offense that just clicks like that, they're borderline unbeatable because they're both putting up stupid points.
Yeah.
So
Lauren, that's really funny what you touch upon, because I actually am going to start doing my rankings with two different colors for my players, a consistent color and like a high upside color. Yeah. And I'm going to tell my followers to pair guys that have a very safe floor and a very high ceiling. And I'm starting to think that's how you win your league. If you have a Keenan Allen and then you get like Marquise Brown might be a high upside guy, like having those two guys, that's a great freaking draft.
Yeah.
Compared to two very safe guys. Mm-hmm. And I see Keenan Allen, like if I have him on my team, if I have him on every single one of my team, I will be happy coming out of my drafts. And that's why he's so high on my board.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got him right. Go ahead.
Yeah. The only issue I see is that he's still being drafted like
fairly high.
Just too high. Like, I think he would be that quintessential value that you're looking for of like, hey, he's steady Eddie, Brandon Cooks kind of esque, right? 150 plus targets, volume king, but 15, 16, 17.
But with just
still like a top 10 dude. Mills. And it's like,
that's exactly right, Raphael. I think people, if you're going to look at Brandon Cooks and you're going to look at Keenan Allen, you're going to look at the two players and go, oh yeah, they're both safe players. They're both volume kings, this and that. But then you're going to say one of them has Davis Mills throwing on the ball. One of them has Justin Herbert. You're going to lean towards Justin Herbert. I have him right at the consensus at 11 on my rankings because I think that's just what he is. He's a wide receiver one. He's been that every year. He is, like Raphael said, as consistent as they come. I mean, and that's my middle name is consistency, man. I love the players that just, I know are going to provide for me. I love the players that I just know week in and week out I can count on them. I think his he's going to finish right where we got him. I think that's just what he is.
Yeah.
A wide receiver one.
He's not going to win you a week ever.
No.
But he won't lose you a week ever.
No.
Like Tyreek,
he'll never goose you.
8.8 points, and then he'll get you 49.
That's exactly the kind of guy you want to pair him with.
Yeah.
Tyreek is a prime example.
Exactly. So
and the year that I had the most dominant team ever, I had that going on. I had Michael Thomas, who was putting up 25 a week, just consistent. And then I had Tyreek, who would fucking goose me, but then he would put up 50. And I was able to just basically win every week because of that. It's unbelievable.
Keenan Allen has proven, and he's a lock for 150 plus targets. Like, there is zero possibility he doesn't see that amount of targets again this year. So love Keenan Allen. I just go a little bit against the grain with that one. On to our top 10. We start getting in the top 10 before we get to single digits.
Gritty.
And that is T. Higgins. This is probably one of the closest consensus rankings we have. I have him at 12, Lauren at 10, Josh at 14, and Raphael at 12. Go ahead, man.
I have the highest. He's cracks the top 10 thanks to me, where he belongs. I'm in love with this guy. He might be my draft crush this year for fantasy. Silky smooth. Once again, super potent offense. And he's going to get a shitload of targets alongside. This is the kind of offense that can definitely carry two wide receiver ones.
Yeah. And
we've talked about, he might.
Funny, it's Cincinnati again, because they were like the team that was doing that in the early 2000s as well with Richmond Zada and Chad Ochocinco.
He might surpass Chase this year. Chase has the knack for the big play, but you get steady play. And also I think T. Higgins is capable of big plays as well. Yeah. He's one of the best contested catch wide receivers I think that we have already at his young age.
6'4".
You can lob. I mean, Burrow already has the full faith in him to just throw it up into double coverage and that he's going to come down with it.
Yeah.
And so I think that trust continues to grow between them. And I love him. I think he could be right there with Chase this year. And what Chase is going top 3.
Yeah.
So why not have him in the top 10?
That is one of the things of like, all right, just like we talked about last year with a few other pairings of like Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and things like that. It's like, if you see the same amount of targets in that offense, but you can get the guy even a round later, you know, the middle of the second or the end of the second over a top 5 pick potentially. Yeah, how do you not take a shot on that? I don't know if you guys want to make any points, but
yeah,
Lauren put it in a nutshell exactly the way I see him as well.
I see it the opposite though. I have him ranked high, you know, as far as I think I got him at 14. So he's a great player. I like him. But how do you have him at top 10? I mean, what in their offense is changing? What changed in their offense this year, this year compared to last year?
They got hot at the end of the year. They got hot at the end of the year.
But how much more? How much more can
of last season when Burrow finally got comfortable on his ACL repaired knee, and now the brace is off, right? And he's moving around better and he's confident and he's airing it out. I feel like they sputtered through a lot of the first half of their season. I think if you project out the way they finished their season and you project a full season of that, T. Higgins is finishing top 10. Absolutely.
I'll just say that I think you can't stretch that much more out of what already was a really great offense. Like they had a great offense all year last year. How much more can you extrapolate from that? He finished at 22 last year, and that was with his breakout season.
Do we not all agree that volume is important in fantasy football?
Absolutely.
Okay, so to the point really quickly, and then I'll hand it off to Raphael before we move on. I love the fact that you asked the question because I have the answer. Joe Burrow was 15th in pass attempts last year. 15th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
But they also have Joe Mixon. They also have Joe Mixon. They're not going to just make him top 5 all of a sudden.
They'll be relatively balanced, but I can assure you they will pick up the pace of play. And
a little bit.
Can be anywhere near the top 7, 8, up in that 580 to 600 pass attempts instead of 520. Absolutely guaranteed, locked in. Chase and Higgins are both top 10. If I knew that, Higgins would be higher, but the reason why he's at 12 for me is because I can't guarantee it. But Burrow deserves to throw the ball 600 times a game, and they can still give 20 plus touches to mix in a game as well.
Yeah, I just think, Higgins finished at 22. He had over 110 targets last year. Even if he gets more, he to me, he doesn't go from 22 to 10. I just don't see that big of a jump that's just my opinion. What do you think, Raphael?
Yeah, he might not go up to 10, but I think he creeps up in the top 15. I have no doubt. I think that offense, I think that offense can supply both. I think CJ is not there. The tight end's not there anymore. And I think Burrow was quite comfortable with him. So I think some of those targets go to T. Higgins as well. And I think, T. Higgins was also nursing an injury last year, I think. So I think he'll get a bit more comfortable. Burrow is definitely getting a lot more comfortable throwing the ball. Again, he's the Keenan Allen of the Bengals. He'll get you such a safe floor every week that I like waiting on him and not getting Chase in the first round. Like that, we'll touch on that later. But Chase is such a high price right now.
Yeah,
I'd rather just get T. Higgins at the end of the second round and pair him up with a CMC that has high upside or something.
I think if Higgins goes from 22 last year to 14 this next year, you're going to be ecstatic. He's a great player, and I think he will have more value. But I can't see top 10.
Well, before we move on,
consistency for me again.
Exactly.
Before we move on, there is, like we've touched on in previous episodes, it is within the realm of possibilities he outscores Chase. Let's not forget that.
Yeah,
it's not a guarantee Chase outscores Higgins. Now, are we all banking on it? Yeah, we'll see that in our rankings, but it's not a guarantee. Like, none of us here would be just absolutely, completely dumbfounded if Higgins outscored Chase. So that's another thing I think baked into his value a little bit, is that he could potentially end up outscoring the guy who's being drafted 15 spots ahead of him. So on to number 9, the first player in single digits. And he is propelled by one gentleman. I have him 11, Lauren 12, Josh 12, super consensus, right? And then we got our boy Raphael that has him at 6. Michael Pittman, baby. We all love him. I know we've all said nothing but good things about him, but Raphael is absolutely heavy on our.
He's head over heels for him
this year. So Raphael, without further ado, man, give us your 2 cents on why you feel he gets propelled into that elite level territory all the way up at number 6 for you.
Yeah, he's my draft crush, Lauren. He's my draft crush. I love Pittman. First of all, his ADP I think is incredible value. But I love the Colts. I think the Colts are very undervalued, underestimated. I think Matt Ryan is A+ quarterback. He's gonna have, I think he could have like a Peyton Manning style revival in that team. I think he'll have a great year, and when he'll throw, I think he'll throw to Pittman a lot. I think Pittman's gonna get a 25% target share in that offense. I think he's gonna see more red zone targets than he's had. He didn't. I don't know what his touchdown total was.
He had
last year.
six.
Yeah, 6 touchdowns. I mean, I think that doubles or at least goes up to 10. He's an incredible route runner, very undervalued route runner. And I think the Colts dominate. I think they'll have really strong games where they just leave it up to Matt Ryan to close out the game, and he'll go see Pittman again and again. And there's no clear number 2. I mean, there's a chemistry with Paris Campbell. Maybe there's Alec Pierce coming up in there. But the clear guy is Pittman, and Matt Ryan loves his big bodied number 1 receiver, and he's consistently put these guys in top 10 positions for fantasy. So I just don't see how he can finish anywhere else than in the top 10. And I'm in love, so I'm clearly biased, and I have him a bit higher. Maybe he'll finish like 8, 9, 10, but I think he's in that top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I like it. Have you heard the reports that Matt Ryan is challenging this team, and he's been chippy? I think he's at that age where he's just tired of mediocrity around him.
Yeah.
And he's just like, bro,
he's had it for so long.
He's like, dude, this is the end of my career. We're fucking going.
And they have a squad.
Yeah.
The receiving weapons behind Pittman aren't that great, but their defense is good. Offensive line is good. Coaching is good. And they're in
everywhere.
Cakewalk division.
Players are saying he's a jerk, basically.
A lot of people. Who was it? I think it was actually. It was one of the players on the Colts that said, like, the first time he had a team, like a player only meeting, he took all of our breath away.
Yeah.
Like, he just fucking set the tone. And
he's been there and done it. Like, how do you not listen to a guy like he's been around?
I mean,
he's fucking.
Yeah.
There was a game.
There's not a lot of people that have given up a 28-3 lead in the fucking last set of the third quarter. That is for sure.
Don't do that to him. that had a lot more
to do with the
rest of everything else than him.
Can we quickly go around and predict the AFC Championship game? What do you guys have?
Holy shit. AFC, NFC would be way easier for me.
Yeah, AFC, you probably go Bills.
Ravens.
I was just saying Bills Ravens could be a good one. I think you could go Bills and
badass.
Bills Ravens
would be a
stylistic matchup of that is phenomenal.
I mean, I think you could go
Ravens
Bills
trying to pound it down the Buffalo's throat. Buffalo trying to fucking have Josh Allen run around and make plays.
As much as I don't want us, as much as I
got
don't
a hard dick right now thinking about that.
As much as I don't want it to be, I'm gonna just for sake of fun, I'm gonna go a little against the grain with this one. I'm gonna go Chargers, Bengals.
Ooh. That's a totally different vibe.
You got Raphael
than the one I said.
I'm gonna go Chargers Bengals. I think that is fucking absolute fireworks like you wouldn't believe.
God, no defense being played at all.
And as much as I don't want that to happen,
I could see it. Yeah,
Chargers look really good, man, and this might be the year they finally.
God, the AFC together. Is stacked, dude. AFC. We're not even considering.
There's 25 different matchups.
We're not even considering the Chiefs being there. Who's been there the last?
Well, Raphael, you must have somebody in mind.
Chargers Colts.
Oh,
the Colts.
You think the Colts to that? Yeah. Just the quarterback change, huh?
I think the Colts are that good. I mean,
until they have to beat the Jaguars in Week 18.
Yeah.
They've improved. Yeah, but that's an outlier. They should have been in the.
I know, but I was a fucking stalwart on freaking the Colts last year too, and then they fucked me in Week 18 and lost against just everybody. I think
they win the division. I think
the Jaguars own the Colts. Dude. I don't know what is that about. Minshew looks like fucking Joe Montana.
Yeah, what was the stat? The Colts have lost like 8 straight games in Jacksonville or something like that, or at home against Jackson, something like that.
I like your take though. I do like your take because as much as our chalky takes of like these big time exciting teams, it's almost inevitable that one of these kind of dark horse teams, Cincy last year, right?
Cinderella story.
Surprising.
The Colts are the Rams of this year.
Yeah, I could see
They had a really good roster. They bolstered the defense with like a few really big signings. and they get a veteran, incredible quarterback to run the team.
So
because they bring in Ngakoue, and they basically replace who they traded for Ngakoue with Stephen Gilmore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you saying
then you bring in the quarterback to tie it all in?
Are you saying that Michael Pittman is this year's Cooper Kupp?
A little bit.
I think that's what he's basically segueing.
That's kind of where I'm going. Is like, I don't think they'll. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's there, so I don't think there's as much passing volume. And I think the Rams were in a lot of close games last year, and we kind of forget that. But they were in a lot of close games, so there was a lot of throwing in the fourth quarter where Kupp did a lot of damage. Pittman might have a bit less than that, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. I think that team is going to be really dominating.
There was a game last year where I always liked Pittman. I had him last year. I had him, I think, his rookie year. I've always been a Pittman fan. And there was a game last year. I think they were losing. I don't remember what happened, but Pittman ended up taking over the game in like the last couple drives of the game. He was literally going up and just ripping the ball away from defenders.
Was it not against the 49ers? I believe it was.
It might have been. It was a night game. It was
the game-winning touchdown where he fucking
we watched that game. We watched that game together.
He mossed one of our corners. Corner fell off and he jogged for a touchdown.
Yes. There was a game. Yeah, he just took over
on that game and I won because you bet against Pittman on that game.
Yeah. There was he took over that game, and I watched that game going, holy shit! Like
fantasy point game, remember?
Mm-hmm. I always liked Pittman, but then watching that game, I was like, dude, this dude's legit. He has talent. Like he is good.
Yeah.
And I could see it, Raphael.
Let's move on to our next player at number 8, and then we'll get on to who we think our NFC championship game matchup is going to be. And that is. I got him ranked. Well, let's do rankings first. I got him ranked 10, Lauren 6, Josh 10, and Raphael 9. That is our boy Deebo Samuel, who finished 2nd overall last year. We all might be disrespecting the fella. There is some
surprise. Lauren's the highest on him, though.
I think there's some negative press involved that have been affecting his fantasy value. I'll first and foremost admit right now, the way everything has been on the offseason, like just the difference in how he handled his contract compared to Cooper Kupp is why I have Deebo so low. And I get it. They do 90% of them do that. Trust me. It's just like, I'm just like, fuck that guy. Fuck him. Like he has one good year and then he just wants to get fucking, he wants to be the highest paid player in the NFL. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But absolutely elite, utilized unlike any other player in the NFL. And absolute stud. So we'll let the Niner fan kick it off and kind of give us his thoughts before we move on to number 7.
He's once again the talent. You can't discredit the talent on the field. We're going to get him the ball, whatever it takes. And I love the contract that we gave him, which incentivizes. It gives him something like basically like, okay, you don't want to run the ball, but what was the limit was like 350 yards, which is basically what he had last year. Believe it or not, it was only that low of a number. Yeah. So much of it was in the playoffs. But we're basically saying like, if you're willing to do this for us, we're willing to basically give you money for it. And we're willing to give you like $600K. I think it's for running for 300 yards.
And I think it's $850,000 if he gets 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how many rushing touchdowns he had last year? He had 8 rushing touchdowns last year. That's insane.
Yeah. Was that just regular season? Because I know he had quite a few in the
regular season. Yeah.
He had probably another 5 in their fucking playoffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the guys even so if you look at his stats prior to his big year with rushing the ball, and that's what everyone thinks about, he was a solid wide receiver 1, barring, aside from injury in the previous years, in his rookie year and his second year. Yeah. If you take injury out of it, he was still on pace to be a wide receiver 1, even still. Like when you consider you don't think of him as a high target guy and all that. He's just so dominant as a player, just much like AJ Brown. The few times he gets the ball, he makes so much of it. After the catch,
he doesn't need
after 2 broken tackles guaranteed.
He's the only player in history that after the catch with a certain amount of targets or whatever the threshold is, averages 10 yards after the fucking catch.
Yeah.
It's absurd. Every time he catches the ball, he gets another 10 yards.
Yeah. That's
minimum.
Crazy.
Minimum.
The dude's an absolute freak. I love Deebo. just a few changes to his situation is really, I think they're not going to want to lean on him like they did, especially with paying him what they have.
And Ayuk is about to break out. That's a bit of an issue. The guy in training camp's been an absolute monster.
He's been a beast,
establishing himself as an alpha. Have you heard about him taking on Fred Warner and fighting with it? He's the guy came to fucking go this year.
Fuck yeah. Because he was in the doghouse last year.
Bro,
and he's like, nah,
he's a different dude this year.
Yeah.
Ayuk means business. I almost want to put him in the top 15.
I am heavy on Ayuk.
Yeah.
And maybe that's another reason why I just discount Debo a bit.
And guess what? Trey Lance loves Ayuk. All true training camp so far, it's been Lance to Ayuk over and over again. So
granted, to be honest, that's
a holdout, but
that's the reason why I have Debo where I have him, is just because I've been getting a lot of Ayuk buzz, and I'm like, I don't know if Debo's going to do what he did, because there's actually another quarterback and another weapon that are going to be a factor this year.
But even so, we all have him top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's still.
Yeah, I'm not putting him at 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever.
Elite.
What did he finish at last?
He finished at 2.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not putting him in the top 5 even.
Right.
Because I know that we're not expecting the same kind of. I mean, that was almost a historic dominant year. We had 1,700 yards from scrimmage, carried us through the playoffs when we had no business beating the Packers. Like, he basically won us the game against Dallas, like on his own, single-handedly. Like, that was absolutely a fucking monster. That was one of the best seasons for a wide receiver / running back that we've ever seen.
It was one of the best seasons for a football player.
Seriously,
a white back.
Football player. Yeah.
Willing to just be a football player. Again, though, TD regression is inevitable.
Yeah.
You're not going to see 8 touchdowns on 300 rushing yards. It's really tough to repeat that. But again, top 10 finish. Debo is absolutely going to be right up in there again.
I think he's a guy that people are fading and they don't want him, and I'll gladly take him.
Yeah.
At a discount.
And I remember people doing that same thing when Tyreek finished 3rd overall. Everyone was Tyreek's do not draft. He can't repeat. His efficiency metrics were too high. TD regression, all this
discounting talent, dude.
And that's when he finished top 3. So again, Debo could absolutely be a massive steal this year, and we may all regret having him as low as we do. On to number 7, and this is a gentleman who has again been a mainstay in the top 3 the last 5 years. Take any guesses? I got him 5, Lauren 8, Josh 5. And Raphael 11. That is, drum roll,
Devontae
Adams.
He doesn't have any nicknames or anything, huh? He's just Devontae Adams. That was like the guy who's been this dominant. You'd think there would be something.
Aaron Rodgers didn't let him have a nickname.
You guys have him so high.
How do you have him so low? That's the crazy thing.
You do have him a bit low, in my opinion.
Oh. He's so high. I'd rather make the case for Hill to be like top 5 than like Adams being top 5 this year. And I don't even have Hill like in the top 15.
Well, I would maybe agree with that take to a certain degree in terms of upside, but I think Devontae Adams is a bet on talent, and he's not. Yes, well, like Derek Carr's thrown for 24 touchdowns a year, and Rodgers is thrown for 38. I think he has more target competition. But I do think he's going to be right in par with yardage. I think he's like a lock for 1,600 yards, 100%. And at that amount of yards,
I'll take that bet with you that he doesn't do that.
Okay.
He doesn't get 1,500.
I'll bet you right now. Because
okay, but are you close? Like, what do you think he's at? Like 1,200, 1,300? Like, is he close?
Give me the over at 1,500 yards on Devontae Adams this year. But I think he goes from seeing 13, 14, 15 touchdowns to like 8. That's where I see his regression go. And that's what puts him, instead of being top 3, that puts him just outside the top 3. And again, he's one of those things for me where I'm leaning towards a talent. He's just done it, and he's just that good. And they're going to have to fucking throw the shit out of the ball if they want to compete in this division. Waller's done it once. Renfro scored 8 touchdowns last year, but is truly a slot guy like Edelman, like Welker. I'm excited for Renfro now that I think about it, with McDaniels in house, being how they've utilized Wes Welker and Edelman and those guys. But Devontae Adams is the clear alpha, and Waller hasn't really shown to be this consistent. He's not Kelsey by any standards. He's done it once. So,
yeah, I mean, last year, Tyreek Hill finished at 6 with 1,200 yards, 110 catches, and 9 touchdowns. So, I mean, if Devontae Adams could be right in that range, if Devontae Adams could be in that range, 1,500 yards, 8, 9 touchdowns, 110, 120 catches, he's going to be right there at like 5, which is extremely feasible for him to do. Like, I don't see Carr is not that bad where he can't do that for someone as talented as Devontae.
Raphael, you love Hollywood Brown for in large because the connection that he has with his quarterback. And we know that there's a love affair going on between Davante Adams and Derek Carr. I'm pretty sure they sleep in the same bed together.
Probably.
Very much like Cooper Kupp and Stafford. They go to breakfast every morning together.
They've been having breakfast a lot longer than Stafford and Kupp.
They're having breakfast in bed together. That's a different thing. So do you not take that into account? The connection, the two, Derek Carr's going to want to force feed the ball to his boy.
Yeah, I do. And that's why he's still in the top 15 guy, but I just don't see the rate. I think the Raiders are going to suffer a bit in the division. I'm first year of this new coaching staff. It's Patriots coaching staff. Like, it's not exciting football. It's diligent football. It's good football, but it's not exciting football. It's not like LA Chargers football at the moment. And it's just,
true. I'll give you that, but the consistency is going to be there. Like the consistency, which is what we're preaching on, he's going to have his numbers. That's going to be there with the Patriots offense. That's what they do. They are a machine, dude. They move the ball. They move the ball and they score points.
When's the last time a Patriots wide receiver finished in the top 10?
07.
Even with Tom Brady. Even with Tom Brady. Even with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, probably around him.
Wasn't that quintessential slot guy like Edelman or whoever.
There's a lot of guys they stacked that offense. Even like a bunch of running backs. I think they'll all more or less have touches.
I will say the last time that they had a wide receiver in the top 10 was the last time they had a receiver worthy of being in the top 10, though. They have not had any talent at wide receiver in New England.
Their receivers are Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
True.
And then they revived a bunch of fucking scrubs.
It was not
from the Super Bowl days of the early 2000s.
A Davante Adams level.
That's what I'm saying.
Guy.
So yeah, I mean, they know how to utilize talent when they have it. They just haven't had any talent at that position for over a decade. So
yeah, I think having him outside of the top 10 to me is just too low. But that's again why we play fantasy football, and you will have 0 shares of Davante Adams at that ranking.
The vibe I'm getting is we would like.
I won't.
Raphael would love to drop with us, and we would love to drop with him because we're all going to get our guys. He doesn't want our guys. We don't want his guys.
Correct.
That's the best type of players you want, because all of us are skilled fantasy football players. Yet
I do believe we're doing a league together, right? We're going to be challenging Raphael in a fantasy league coming up.
Yeah, we're looking
for bragging rights, no money on the line, but I love those leagues.
Yeah, right.
Real quick, what I have here right now, just kind of going through my list, the last receiver for the Patriots to finish even close to the top 10 was Brandon Cooks in 2017. He finished at 12.
Brandon Cooks is a machine, dude. Absolute fucking machine.
Fair enough.
You know what?
I'll go on record right now saying, and I don't have him ranked this way, but I probably should. I think Brandon Cooks is going to outscore Keenan Allen this year.
He probably will.
Because I think he's going to see the same amount of targets. And yes, Davis Mills is throwing.
I like Davis Mills,
but Brandon Cooks is so much. I think he's just has so much more game breaking ability than Keenan Allen. Like Brandon Cooks can take it to the house. Keenan Allen fucking catches the ball and falls down.
Yeah.
He's
and he's just,
what he is?
He's the Amish king.
He's the Ryan Fitzpatrick of wide receivers. He's going to play on every team in the league and be good and just fucking have a
and nobody wants him
for 16 different teams. And you were fucking like had 1,000 yards on each of them and you were good.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is Davante Adams. Pretty big gap there. However, interesting, and I am very, very excited to see.
Oh, and Davis Mills is a machine, by the way. I've been reading reports of him just like 14.
Do you see that
14 for 15 in every fucking practice, just fucking dishing.
Do you see what his mom said?
What his mom
said?
His
mom said that he needs to get a marketing deal with a turtleneck company. The dude has the longest neck. The dude has the longest neck in the fucking world.
His mom's fucking shitting on him. I love it.
I'm not kidding you, dude. It's the longest neck of
it is. It's crazy long.
It's like Mike Glennon level over there.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah, here, you got to see this shit. Hold on real quick.
I mean, if he's a wise man, he would absolutely do that. He'd be reaching out to turtleneck companies. Oh my God.
Look at that neck.
That is a dick for a neck. That's crazy.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's a long neck.
Oh yeah.
It's thick though. It's a thick neck.
It looks fake. It looks doctored. It looks like someone
looks photoshopped
Photoshop the picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, guys. On to
Daddy long neck.
number 6, one outside of the top 5, who I would think would be, now granted, tiers are a little bit different. You can make a case for top 3, top 5, whatever, but one just outside of that top 5, which is really those guys who
The elite. Yeah.
the 100% foundation of your squad. These are guys you are building your team around, not supplementary pieces whatsoever. And that is Mike Evans. Surprisingly so. He's all the way up at 6, yet none of us have him that high. I have him 8, Lauren at 11, Josh 7, Raphael 7.
I like your thinking, Raphael.
Yeah, Raphael, kick us off, man. Tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's number 1 guy is always going to be a guy high on my list in general. He's just, again, so freaking consistent, but with upside. That's what makes Mike Evans sexy. He's consistent, but can still get you like a 35-point game where he's going to score 3 touchdowns and go for like 150 yards and 12 catches. Like, it's just, he has, but he's going to get you that. And
no, he's not. He's either going to get you that, or he's going to get you 2 yards and 1 touchdown. And
but we've talked about this. We've had this conversation, Lauren. He's been in the league 8 years, and in his 8 years, he has scored over 1,000 yards every single one of them, and he has scored double-digit touchdowns in 4 of the 8 years.
Yeah. I don't think that goes down in the
and then in the other 2
in the situation that he's in now.
Yeah, and that was with Jameis Winston throwing in the ball and whoever was before him. I mean, he does it every year with no matter who's throwing the ball. Ryan Fitzpatrick, exactly.
There's
and then
one reason why I have him at 8, and that's because he finished 8 last year, and he had a 16% target share. That's like 9-10% less than fucking the number 1.
But you're telling me that he won't finish higher? You're telling me he won't finish higher because of Godwin coming back later? You think?
I don't know. I don't want to go as far as saying, like, does he have wide receiver 1 overall upside? Probably. It'd be a bit of a reach.
Close.
Yeah, he probably does. But again, he had a 16% target share, like lower than AJ Brown, lower than Debo, like lower than any of these high-end efficiency guys, way lower actually, and still finish 8th. Dude, he's gonna see 15 touchdowns this year. And he might only get that on 1,000 yards. He's not going to be fucking 1,800 yards for any of that. The dude finished 8th with a stupid low target share, and that's why I have him as high as I do, because Tom Brady's still going to throw the ball a fuck ton. Now, granted, the reason why his target share is so low is because he does have multiple weapons. Godwin's going to get his. Gage is going to get his.
He had Antonio Brown.
Julio Jones is going to play that Gronkowski role, in my opinion, where he's that safety valve red zone guy. He's not going to have anywhere near the volume, and I think he's going to be overdrafted. But Gage is going to fill in that Antonio Brown role, who, by the way, was 14th in points per game last year, Antonio Brown, before he went crazy. So they're all going to eat, but Evans, man, 14, 15 touchdowns with Tom Brady throwing you the ball with chemistry. Yeah, hard to bet against it.
Yeah.
But if you needed to find somebody who would, he's sitting right next to me.
I don't like him.
Which makes no sense. Makes no sense.
I don't like him.
What is it about 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns that you want no piece of? A guaranteed 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns.
You can have him in his 2-yard touchdowns. You're fine.
Sometimes you just don't.
I just don't like him.
That's how you feel.
And it's nothing personal. I just don't like him as a fantasy player.
On to top 5 with no surprise. I have him ranked 6th. I think this is actually our closest outside of the top 3 or 4. I have him 6, Lauren 4, Josh 6, Raphael 5. And that is our boy in Dallas, CD's nuts, Lamb.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we might be too high, to be honest.
Yeah, I honestly had to really choke down the fact that I had him that high.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand Dak Prescott. I can't stand Dallas. I think CD he gets overdrafted because he shows up to training camp with a fucking leg sleeve and he has the dreads and the visor and he just looks badass. He just looks like a football player that's going to fucking kick ass. But he's underwhelmed in year 1 and in year 2 with the same quarterback, with the same high volume situation. Granted, he's going from number 2 to number 1, but with Gallup coming on, off the ACL and not being ready, James Washington being hurt, Tolbert being
a rookie,
CD is going to see
100% target share.
I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be the highest targeted. I think he's going to be the highest targeted player in the first 6 weeks of the NFL. The highest targeted player.
I tend to agree with you in that the talent is not overwhelming, and he is not a talent level of even though we may have thought he would be coming out of college in 2 years, he's not shown us to be the talent level of an AJ Brown or a Deebo Samuel or Jamar Chase. But it's a bit like why we draft rushing quarterbacks. He's going to be a cheat code in that he's going to be the entire receiving offense on this team because the rest of this running cast is so fucking bad.
Even if he gets,
and he is talented enough to do something with the ball, and he's going to get like 200 targets. He's going to get like 200 targets,
dude. Through the first 6 weeks, he's going to be the heaviest targeted player in the NFL,
undoubtedly.
Like it's going to be,
and they don't have any draft capital to trade for somebody. They're going to probably they have not Bowler or something. What are they going to do?
Yeah,
they're stuck where they're at.
He's a bum too.
Yeah, so
they just have to wait for Gallup to come back. Yeah,
and even when he does,
he's Gallup. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm really high on CD. I've been high on him for a long time. I've said it on the pod. I'm really high on Dak. I'm not a big fan of the Cowboys, but I think Zeke, Dak, and CD are going to have great years because
I'm not a fan of the Cowboys, but I love all their
Tony Pollard.
I just think that Zeke, Dak, and CD are going to have great years. Zeke always does. Dak always does, aside from injury. And CD being the number one now, he's going to have a better year than he's had in the past.
Tony Pollard will be a viable flex option most of the years.
Yeah. Well. I have CD at 6. I think that's right where he's going to be. I think that's right around where he's. Yeah, I think that's right where he's going to finish.
We're arguing, yet we have him right ranked.
Yeah,
exact spot.
I agree that it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel because he's not the same level talent as a lot of the guys below him. But his situation, this is one of those things where I do like the situation is just so overwhelming. Where it's like, how does he not just get targeted?
You have to be reasonable
because he does have a quarterback who is good.
Yeah,
and the offense is going to be trying to push the pace, and they're going to be behind, and it's just like all the boxes are checked. It's like he has to have a big year.
And like watching him burn the shit out of Trayvon Diggs in training camp is nice a good sign.
That's nice too.
Why do you think he's too high, Raphael? You said you think we have him ranked too high?
Well, I mean, dude, he has them all the way down at 5. So
yeah, all the way down.
But he doesn't like it. He doesn't like putting him there.
No, I feel the same way.
It's just a feeling, and I don't even know if I feel good when I draft him, and I probably will draft him in at least one team, but I'm not even sure I'll feel good about it, though the results will probably be there. I also think Dallas got the offense got a bit cheated by the defense last year. I think the defense took over some games where Dallas could have had more opportunities to score points. There was a bit of that as well, and CeeDee Lamb's 6 touchdowns last year. That feels really low.
Yes.
That feels really low for a guy that he still finished top 15, I think. I think he was 15th, exactly.
You can pretty much just take Trayvon Diggs' touchdowns and tack them onto him. I
almost. You could almost say that. With Amari Cooper gone, I think Dalton Schultz will have a huge season, FYI. But I think the volume's there, and I think he'll get more touchdowns, more red zone looks.
I think like maybe the next like 8 guys below him are better players, but he's in this unbelievable situation.
Yeah. Well, there is no correlation at all, so it's totally unfair. But for me, and I can't help it, even though I know logically it doesn't make sense, I can't help but go, yeah, but Coop has been there as a number 1 with a viable number 2 and hasn't done shit. He's never finished as a or it's been 2 years or 3 years since he's finished as a wide receiver 1. He did it one time. But again, we've gone through this with Dak. That Dak very rarely has supported a wide receiver 1. And Cooper's not he's not a bum. So it's just hard for me to wrap my head around it, even though there's no correlation between CD and Cooper. It's just hard for me to go, yeah, all of a sudden Dak's just going to be able to support a top 3 guy, top 5 guy. But
well, there's a bit of a correlation because Cooper got, I think, 17 red zone targets last year.
Yeah.
Those got to go somewhere.
And CD got 15. So
they have to go somewhere if they make it to the red zone as many times they did last year.
True.
Also strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Easy schedule for anyone in that division.
That's a factor, except for I think the Eagles secondary is fucking legit. Anyway, we'll move on. On to number 4, Stephon Diggs. I have him 4, Lauren 5, Josh 4, and Raphael 2.
Oof.
Man, he's betting on the Bills and his boy Diggs. I like it. Go ahead and kick us off, man. Diggs all the way up at 2 ahead of some chalkier picks.
But he's our consensus 4
in Chase. Yeah, he is our consensus 4. Yep.
Okay.
There's so many plays last year that Diggs
Those
wasn't
strong.
able to make.
Go ahead.
So many plays last year that Diggs should have made that weren't made. Sometimes not even because of his fault, fault of his own at all.
Right.
I think Diggs dominates. I think Diggs has like maybe the best season he's ever had this year.
I could see it.
Like I really think so. Well, the Bills will take the the Bills offense will stay the Bills offense. They've been incredible. But I really think that there was a lot of missed opportunities. Dawson Knox got way too much attention. That was like an outlier last year as well. I don't think that happens again.
Yeah.
There's just Diggs could have easily had 15 touchdowns last year. I don't know. Did he finish with 12? I think
he finished with 10.
Yeah,
10.
Oh, with 10. Yeah. So I think he easily could have had 15. He could finish, receiving leader in yards. I mean,
he had 165 targets and only like 100 catches. Like, I mean,
exactly.
That number is going to get a lot closer. That it's kind of an outlier for it to be that much of a gap.
So much missed opportunities, so much air yards that weren't there. I mean, just like, yeah,
vacated air yards and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'll admit, I was really close to having my tier 1 break at number 3. But my tier 1 breaks at 4. And Diggs, that's the whole point of tiers, is like I have them ranked this way, but they're interchangeable. If you have my 4th at 1, I'm not going to argue with you because it's all
in the same category.
Are interchangeable.
And the thing is, you're paying so much money for Cup. Yeah, but you pay so much money for Cup, Jefferson, and Chase in drafts this year, compared to getting Diggs at the turn. If you can get him, I mean, I'd go Diggs every time.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't have the luxury, right? So my question is,
right, of course,
is let's say you're at 5, all your running back, guys that you have are gone. Let's say all 4 running backs are gone, and then you're poised with a situation where you have Jefferson, Chase, and Cup are all available. You're taking Diggs ahead of those guys.
No.
Not over Cup.
But because he's not my number 1.
So sorry. Jefferson and Chase are available and Diggs at 5. You're going wide receiver. You are taking Diggs ahead of Chase and Jefferson.
Well, again, Cup's not my number 1. I'm taking Jefferson.
He is not your number 1. That's right.
Yeah.
We had it twisted. Sorry.
Yeah, Jefferson's my number 1. If there's all these wide receivers, if you're telling me there's Diggs, Chase, and Cooper Cup, I'm probably still gonna go running back. Like I'll go get Joe Mixon there.
Mixed up.
Yeah. You'll take the next tier of running back before you take.
Yeah, and I'm really
just because you don't want to pay that capital for Diggs.
Yeah, and because I just think I like robust RB this year. I'll go get probably 3 running backs in the first 4.
I was dyslexic.
Rounds. Like
heads up, I was dyslexic and put you having Cup 1, and I had Cup and Jefferson switched for you. Sorry about that.
Will that change our consensus?
It's all right.
No, I mean
probably
maybe,
not.
but who knows?
Whatever.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I love Diggs. I've had him a lot. I've had my share of him a lot. I had him last year, and he did great for me. I think he's gonna finish up. I mean, I have him at 4. He finished at 7 last year. I think, like you said, he has a career year this year, and I think he gets right up there in the top 4. I think he has a potential to finish at number 1 too.
Of course.
So like
100%.
I think he's right where he should be in that top tier. One of the top 4 guys.
He's a guy who underperformed last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he does. I don't think he has the explosiveness to finish at 1 anymore. I think you have to have a level of explosiveness and big plays in you. I don't think he has that. I think he's closer to, sounds crazy, but to a Keenan Allen at this point, where he's more of a great route runner, possession receiver, and you don't get the big plays that get you to that next step like Jamar Chase does, like Justin Jefferson does. That's why I just couldn't put him. I do believe he is a tier break, though. I think that's top 4. He's that guy
because of the volume and the Bills.
Yeah, because like you guys talked about how you love consistency. He's going to be that consistent guy. But I don't think he can crack the top.
He still has that though. Like he's only 28.
He doesn't.
He's
have
only
that.
28.
If you watch him play, he doesn't have the big plays in him anymore. He doesn't. He's a possession receiver. That's what he is, and he's great at it, and it's a great offense, and I love it. But he doesn't have the game breaking ability to be wide receiver 1 anymore.
Yeah, I do see your point. That is absolutely valid. On to our number 3 consensus, and this is a chalky chalk, and that is Ja'Marr Chase. All of us have him across the board at number 3, and I think he's right where he belongs. I don't really know if there's much that needs to be said, and we can go round and round all day about him, but he's the number 1 with Burrow. He showed what he could do last year. Big play waiting to happen. Second
he's
year,
a stud. Yeah,
he couldn't catch a football in training camp with white lines on it, or without white lines.
Yeah.
And he's Ja'Marr Chase.
Yeah.
I'll admit, in certain leagues, I'll probably draft him ahead of the 2 guys I have ahead of him, just because I have to have a piece. I just have to. He's one of those dudes, the generational exciting guys where he's so fun to fucking root for.
Yep.
And Mike Evans just isn't.
No.
It's just different. When you have Chase, you're just fucking psyched to play fantasy football. In the fourth quarter, he breaks a 78.
You don't feel out of it at any moment.
Wins you a league, wins you the week because of that's just who he is.
Yeah.
But you just can't quite
put him above the other guys. Yeah.
On to number 2.
No, I think Raphael had something to say.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, just
I'm looking down
at
the paper. So I'm not seeing everybody's mannerism.
Go ahead.
When you think of Chase, you think of the deep ball, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at a stat that wowed me yesterday. Ja'Marr Chase had 644 yards after catch. And I think that's insane. What he does with the ball in hand, I think we've completely undervalued that.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing him as the guy that's going to go catch that 70-yard bomb. The guy can run with the ball, catch an 8-yard pass and run it to the house. And for some reason maybe we saw that just later during the year. Maybe that was the adaptation to the offense and all that. But if he does more of that, Deebo Samuel style, if he does more of that, he could finish wide receiver 1, no doubt.
Yeah. And
that's a lot. That's a lot of yards after the catch that you don't really think about.
He's a Pitts-like prospect where he was a top 5 pick after sitting out an entire year. The dude is a generational, once a decade type.
Yeah, at his position.
Happened to get 2 of them from the same fucking team, so we're discounting it a bit. But the dude is unlike anybody we've seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
On to number 2, is we all have him 2 except for Raphael has number 1. My apologies, I had it listed as number 4.
I don't think any of us think there's a big gap between these 2. I think this is more 1A, 1B type of scenario, right?
Again, this is a tier, including Chase for me, but honestly, you can make a case for Kupp and Jefferson
being at almost another tier above those 2.
You really could. You really could. So let's let Raphael, who has him at the very top of the totem pole.
You almost have an S class. S class would be Cooper and Jefferson. Yeah, you got the S class, then you got tier 1, then you got tier 2. They're another step above tier 1. These 2 guys.
Yeah, because what Chase have that Jefferson and Kupp have is the volume.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that volume goes down for Kupp a little bit this year. But we can talk about that when we talk about Kupp. But yeah, I think Justin Jefferson takes the leap. I think he's extremely excited to come in this year with the new coaching staff. I think Kirk Cousins will look better. We're talking about the air yards difference. Justin Jefferson leads the league in air yards difference with almost 1,000 yards lost last year. That's insane. There's no way that he doesn't reconcile that.
Right.
Thielen getting older, Irv Smith getting injured again, and I think Irv Smith's not a guy that's going to be reliable for this team. I think Justin Jefferson's going to get an insane amount of targets, this year. I just see him leading the league. I think he's going to get 1,800 yards, and it's going to look incredible. He's going to be the guy that you want, and that's going to excite you.
Yeah, I mean, he had 1,600 yards last year. So with a new high-flying offense, you're telling me he can't get an extra 200?
And I love the banter going on right now between him and Chase. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They asked Chase who's the better receiver, and Chase said, "Me, without a doubt." Like Jefferson took all my moves. That's that kind of thing. So that's fun. I think that's cool for just the competition. And
now they played together at LSU, right?
Yeah, old college teammates.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
I mean,
that Jefferson, Chase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Burrow were all on that fucking offense. Like, just what?
That was an insane team.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Minus CEH.
I was gonna say CEH,
but even so, at a college level, like he's a starting running back in the NFL.
Yeah,
But I can't argue with you. Here's the thing: as much as I'm like banging this drum that I want Cincinnati to get an uptick in volume, because I think that's the difference maker between really putting them at the top of the league in offensive value. I think that actually Minnesota has a better chance at increasing their target or their overall offensive volume than Cincinnati. As much as I'm rooting for it to be Cincinnati, I think Kevin O'Connell coming in and implementing more of a modern style, fast, fun, flying offense was going to be the difference maker with Jefferson. I agree. I went so back and forth, dude. I switched Jefferson and Kupp 12 times because I see exactly, I see all your points, and it's like, man, it's splitting hairs.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, why is Jonathan Taylor going to be the consensus RB1? Because he finished at RB1 last year. Why is Cooper Kupp always going to end up as the consensus wide receiver 1? Because he finished as wide receiver 1. It's just one of the, exactly. It's just one of those things where it's like, you can't take someone down when they did what they just did last year.
Unless
like
something changes. Nothing changed.
Yeah, nothing changed.
Yeah, nothing changed.
And they often not finish number 1 again.
Oh, correct. But it's so hard to not put them there, seeing after what they did. Yeah, so there's not much to say about not much else to say about Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson's 23.
What?
Yeah.
He's
and
only
Cooper Kupp is 29.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp's 29.
Cooper is 29.
He's already done so much. It's crazy. Justin Jefferson's
Cooper
already done
Kupp,
so much in the league and established himself, and he's 23.
Ridiculous.
It's really ridiculous. He's already had 2 like fucking phenomenal seasons.
He has more yards through his first 2 seasons than any player in history.
Yeah. It's crazy.
There's a lot of mock drafts at the moment that I'm doing where Jefferson's the first pick in the draft.
I believe it.
So I don't think I'm alone. I think
no, you're not alone.
I
don't think you're alone at all. I think that it's pretty common, because here's the thing. I think the one thing you don't expect as much of for Jefferson as you do Kupp is regression. Like you see things that he left on the table. Kupp literally maximized every single fucking square.
He licked the plate clean.
Yeah. Whereas Jefferson, you see, is like 1,000 vacated air yards.
Yeah, that's right.
Still did what he did.
Yeah, and you expect an uptick in offense from that team as well.
Yeah. So I can't argue with you.
You know what? If you're a guy that plays it safe and you got the number 1 overall take, I don't think there's a safer pick than Justin Jefferson.
I'm thinking about it.
With running back, there's a certain level of volatility. I don't care who it is. They just the nature
Jonathan
of
Taylor, everyone included.
The nature of their position is getting injured because you're just a battering ram every play.
I will never ever, if I see Jefferson going off number 1, be like, bro, reach.
No one's gonna talk shit.
No way.
Well, yeah, everyone talks about volatility with receivers because of like the boom bust, this and that. There's never consistency like there is with running backs, but I feel like with Justin Jefferson, you can't get more consistent.
Oh.
I mean, if you're taking out injury, he is as consistent as they come, as far as just, he's going to produce every week.
I had him last year and I loved every single bit of it.
He also
ended up winning, but he was just a foundational piece.
He plays in a way that is just, it bodes well for not getting injured. He's he's got that slinky thing where he
slippery,
just falls to the ground. He just doesn't take big hits.
Yeah, he doesn't lower his head.
It's true.
Like a Debo.
And he doesn't get injured. It's true.
Yeah. It's the way he plays. Yeah, he's not taking. He does not look for contact. And All right.
If I have the 101, I'll think about Jefferson. Like it'll be a debate.
If it's a full PPR league, I'm taking the 2 players I'm considering are CMC and Jefferson. And
love
those 3 guys. Those 3 guys I'm considering. But like the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, gosh, yeah. I'm in on Jefferson, man.
Right.
But the guy who
I convinced you guys.
He is sitting atop this list for a reason is 2 girls, 1 cup. Our boy Coop. I have him 1, Lauren 1, Josh 1, and Raphael 4.
Whoa. I thought he would have been 2.
He does have him below Jefferson
Jason.
and Chase.
Oof.
So I do get where you're coming from, but let me spit a little fact for you. If Cooper Kupp didn't play in the final 4 weeks of last year, he still would have outscored Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have just sat out the final 4 weeks, he still would have outscored Justin.
Yeah, historical season. You just don't do 2 historical seasons in a row.
Yeah, but Antonio Brown
did
it 4 years in a row. So it is possible that you can rerun.
Well, like you said, even if he doesn't have a historical season again, he could still very easily finish as wide receiver 1.
Yeah. And again, you're not expecting him to lap these motherfuckers. Like for him to lap Justin Jefferson and basically beat him out by 4 weeks of the year, you don't expect that. But even if it's really close, I mean, I think that if Kupp plays a fully healthy season, and so does Jefferson, you are equally as happy with both.
If you look, I mean, in half-point PPR, he scored 367 points last year. Second place was at 300. So he had 67 more points than second place. Even if you take 20, 30, 40 points off of his resume and he doesn't have that historical season, he's still wide receiver 1.
Are you guys not all about Allen Robinson though?
No.
I mean, Allen Robinson is going to be a OBJ or
Van Jefferson's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And past Van Jefferson, they have probably the worst depth of any wide receiver room.
That being said, Allen Robinson is a target monster.
Totally.
He's a much better option than they had there with OBJ.
Yeah, but Stafford threw the ball 620 times last year. Do I think he's
real quick? Do we want to? What do you guys think of the? What do you guys think of Sean McVay coming out and saying what he's been saying about Stafford?
What's he saying
about needing elbow surgery?
Well, yeah, he's saying his elbow is really sore, and he said it is abnormal for a normal quarterback soreness. He said it's not. This is not normal soreness.
Why would he say this? What advantage?
I don't know, but he came out yesterday or today and said basically Matt Stafford's elbow he's going to hold him out the rest of this week. His elbow is not looking good, and it's not normal quarterback soreness.
Yeah.
I think that's Josh's interpretation, but I did hear through the grapevine also that they're comparing it to a similar
like a pitcher
diagnosis with pitcher's elbow.
Oh, what do they call that? Tommy John's or whatever?
Might need Tommy John. Yeah. Who knows?
Ooh.
They come back throwing fire though when they get that. But no, they're Matthew Stafford
like freaking
playing.
Disney Rookie of the Year or whatever, that movie.
Let's not be fooled. Stafford's playing.
Yeah.
He's playing. He can support both of them because
one can dream.
Depth behind.
One can dream. As a Niner fan,
they were in an abnormal number of close games last year. The Rams. I watched their 20-minute season recap a few days ago, and they were in a lot of close games.
They just weren't that great of a team.
But do you not think they're going to be in close games again? Because I do. They're not going to go out and thump people, man. They're good, but they're not that good. And the NFC, I don't know.
There was something about the Rams last year. It was like Super Bowl in their home stadium. They brought in Stafford. They brought in all these guys. There was something about that team that and I love the Rams, but I just don't think they have the same magic this year.
Yeah, about halfway through the season, you could sense it. You could kind of feel like, oh, this is going to be one of those magic season kind of things.
Till since he got hot, and then I was like, nope. Since he's winning it all. Another interesting stat, not to beat a dead horse here. If Cooper stopped playing at week 9, he would have outscored Michael Pittman, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, and DJ Moore.
Yeah.
With another 8 games.
And we love Michael Pittman. And we love Waddle and all these guys.
So what you're saying is if he would have stopped, he would have been still a fringe wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he would have been a wide receiver 1 playing half the year.
Yeah.
Like that, and so no one's expecting that level. That's the thing. I think everybody.
It's like Derrick Henry level of.
Oh, yeah,
I think everybody is going. All right. So if instead of 1,900 yards and 16 touchdowns, he gets 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns.
That's still wide receiver 1.
I'm pretty happy about that. I mean, there's nothing really bummer about that. But I see your point, and I would definitely consider taking Jefferson ahead of him. So that concedes the final top 15 ranking before we move on to a pairing of tight ends defense, which, defense is such a crapshoot, but we do need to hit on tight ends. And that will kind of finalize our ranking series where we
spit them out real quick again, Tori, 1 through 15.
Yeah,
I would like to officially change my ranking between 1 and 2.
Mike Evans is going way higher.
No, I want Jefferson at 1 over Kupp. You guys,
after what we just talked about.
Yeah, all the conversation and then the elbow talk scared me a little bit. I want Jefferson at 1.
You have no idea if Josh just made that up.
No, it's true.
No, he has tendonitis for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
You ever had tendonitis? It's not fun.
No, I haven't.
All right, Jefferson 1.
All right. Either way, I think if we would have had Jefferson 1, it still would have been a pretty close consensus.
Yeah.
Either way, as we have it now, the rankings go. Mike Williams at 15, Tyreek Hill 14, AJ Brown 13, Cortland Sutton 12, Keenan Allen 11, T Higgins 10, Michael Pittman 9, Debo 8, Devontae 7, Mike Evans 6, CeeDee Lamb 5, Diggs 4, Chase 3, Jefferson 2, and Cooper Kupp 1. As always, I always end up liking the consensus list better than my own.
Good list.
Which is the purpose of these things, is because we collaborate and we bounce ideas off of one another. Because again, I don't want to just fucking jump right in line, but I want to do the same thing with Jefferson as well.
And I think that's what the consensus is for. It's supposed to take, it's supposed to make a true value of where a player really should end up. You might have a guy really high and you're just higher because of bias, but then someone else has him where he kind of should be, and he ends up balancing out. And the consensus, our consensus list seems to be right where these guys end up. I mean, probably end up.
We all have a few guys in here where we're just like, I don't really know why, but I just don't like him this year. Yeah, you can't even back it up with metric. Mine's Mike Evans, clearly. And he should be higher than where I have him, but I'm still keeping him where he is in my personal rankings. Yeah. But the consensus is a better mix for sure.
No, yeah, totally. And I felt that way about each position, even though you go in going, nah, this is my rankings.
Yeah.
And then it's funny though, we'll do a mock draft. And you'll pick a guy like 3 rounds ahead of a dude you have ranked higher than him.
Yeah.
And we'll recap it like, dude,
what are you doing?
And that was
why
when we did the mock draft.
Yeah, why exactly?
Fuck, Aaron Rodgers was there. Pick Trey Lance instead. It's like, you have Trey Lance ranked ahead of this guy.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to see how that unfolds. But I think,
well, it's also a question of what your team looks like, and
all of that.
If you want to pair, if you want to stack or anything like that,
yeah, exactly.
I will say though, I end up liking, as much as the traditional approach is to go heavy RB, I do end up liking teams' rosters better that end up favoring early round wide receivers. I really do. It's rarely my team, because I am the guy that goes RBs 3 of the first 4 rounds oftentimes. But when you see a team that has fucking, let's just say Devontae Adams plays to capacity, right? And you have a team that has Diggs and Adams as just their core, and then they follow it up at the other turn with Kyle Pitts and fucking Josh Allen, right? Like, they can afford to go 0 RB in that situation and rock with a guy. If one of their later or mid-round running backs hits, just one,
AJ Dillon,
one of them, they are almost impossible to beat.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about it all the time. My team last year, I had Cooper Kupp, I had Cooper Kupp, Stefan Diggs, Michael Pittman, Cortland Sutton, and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Like, all very, very good receivers.
Can't believe you had all that and still finished last.
Did you win?
I lost in the semis.
He also had Jonathan Taylor, by the way.
I forgot to mention that.
Well, I took Terry McLaurin and flipped him for Jonathan Taylor early in the season before Jonathan Taylor took off.
To counter both of you, and especially Torres' point, last year I had a team with Cooper Kupp, Stefan Diggs, and Keenan Allen, and I did not make the playoffs.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, because it goes to show, man, that's why running backs are heavy. It's not because the talent's better. It's because one of those 3 guys are going to be gone.
Yeah.
And I had Darren
That's
Waller.
why.
I had Darren Waller, and I had Saquon Barkley. And those 2 injuries, that was it.
Yeah.
There was no way I could come back from them.
That's all it takes, man.
Yeah.
What's even worse is when you trade for a guy like that. I had the most boneheaded trade on the planet last year. I traded Mark Andrews for Darren Waller straight up. right before Darren Waller got hurt and was gone. And then Andrews just ended up being this bona fide. Sometimes you just make a few moves like that, man. But that's what's fun.
Dude.
And that's what's exciting about Dynasty, because I think the movement is going to be huge.
Well, the prior season, 2 seasons ago, we had Darren Waller just getting an unbelievable target share. And then in week 1, he comes out and gets 20
targets. Yeah.
And everyone and their mom wanted to trade for him.
Yeah.
And whoever cashed in on him after week 1 and actually sold him was just like laughing their way, because he never even come close to 25 targets again all season.
In a similar way, I did that with Cooper last year. You remember when Amari Cooper had that giant week 1 year?
Yeah.
Or week 1 game?
Oh, yeah.
I think he had like 14 grabs, 190
Thursday
yards,
night
3
game.
touchdowns, giant game.
Yeah.
And I traded him to the Cowboys fan in our league right after that game, because I go, this motherfucker always does this.
Yeah.
He has one big game a year and he just had it.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So it's fun how sometimes those things work out. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Please check us out on Instagram at Full House Fantasy Football. Also check out our boy Raphael at Fantasy Football UK. We're definitely getting more involved into the social media communities and just having fun with all of that stuff. Please go on there, give us a like,
subscribe on YouTube, Full House Fantasy Football on YouTube. I accidentally posted the episode on the True Crime page last week. I'll fix that this week. We'll get this episode up on our YouTube page.
Yeah,
it's all good. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. What are we doing? We're gonna do tight ends and defense next week, right?
Yeah, okay. Tight ends and defenses. So that'll be a quick episode. That one will only be 3 hours.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Raphael, thanks so much, man. We have so much fun when you're on, and we're definitely gonna have you be a mainstay on.
We got to do a mock draft. Man. We got to do a mock draft coming up.
Yes, it'd be great to do that. Absolutely.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Later.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Bye.